Alright, it's the next day. We're gonna go ahead and clean this up a little bit. We're gonna do a 400 wet sand on it. Alright, so then we'll just go ahead and wet sand this all down. Here's up in here. Where we did up in here, sorry. This is where we did up in here. All around here. Down here it's all covered up by the molding. We didn't pull this one off. We didn't see a need to. It's looking good. We'll get the wet sand and the well, first we're going to do a real light dry sand on it, staying away from the corners and the edges, other than the areas that we have to fix up. And then we're going to go ahead and do a wet sand, a wipe down. We'll blow everything off really good, and then we're going to go ahead and start painting the finish coat on it. So let's get to it. We started doing our 400 grit, just basically a little light sanding. We'll still have to, we did all the major flat areas, large areas, and then we're going to start concentrating on some of the curved areas and the sharp edges and stuff to make sure that we get all those. Now we've got some of this stuff sanded down up in here. We'll go ahead and finish these off and probably use some of that glazing putty on it and get it done. So, all right, well, we're continuing on, so we're gonna get to it. Okay guys, we pretty much got the 400 grit sanding done. Just the quick dust off, all the door jambs, all the spots, everything. If you've noticed though, I've actually turned the car around, and the reason is because I want this portion of the car actually to be in the sun when we do this. I'll have to get the thermometer and check the metal temperature to make sure we're not above where we should be. And what we're gonna, and one of the reasons I want to turn it around too is I wanted to make sure that when we did some wet sanding that it dried fairly quickly. I think we're not going to opt for the hose because of the tape on the seams and stuff around here. We don't want water getting in there and sticking in it, so when we spray paint, that water might accidentally come out. So anyways, so here we are. It's getting down to the throws. What we're going to do for the wet sand, then we're actually going to use spray bottles and some rags to keep it clean and dry and everything, and we're going to do that. So let us go ahead and get to it, and we'll see you in a little bit. All right, next thing we need to do is wipe all the dust and stuff off from our little dry sand here. So we're going to go ahead and do that, get up in all these areas. Then what we'll do is we'll get a can of computer air spray or whatever, you know, dust off type stuff, whatever, and we'll get up in here in all these cracks, blow everything, and just make sure that all the dust and everything is off this car as much as possible. Then we'll go ahead and we're going to do a water bottle wet sand. That's where you spray water on it, and you have somebody stand by with a rag, just make sure the water doesn't get up into these tapes and stuff, and get everything taken care of. So let me get this wipe down done, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start dusting it off with the air bottle. All right, I'm gonna hit this with some air. I've already hit it once. Pay close attention to any screw holes or anything, or any cracks or crevices or stuff like that. And you're gonna have to make sure and hit all this, all the plastic, everything, unless you want to redo all that plastic. See some of that dust coming off of there. You don't want that on there. So let me get the rest of this done. All right, we've pretty much done all that over there. This wet sand method I was talking about. You just spray it down like this, get it nice and wet. This one's not too bad. I probably could have done this part with a hose, but that's all right. And you get your 400 grit, and sometime here today, I'll get it and just kind of go over it gently. And I have to use the water several times in order to go ahead and keep it wet. All right, go ahead and spray some more water on it, starting from the top up here. So a little further away. There you go. Get this. All right, that's good. And you got to be real gentle around these creases, like I'm just using my fingertips and not my fingernails. I'm just kind of going through it, through that edge right there, and then getting it right here, and then just barely drag my finger on each side of this so that the paper is there. Just kind of go over it like that. That way I don't cut through the edge, but I get the wet sand. All right, let's get some more water on there. Okay, and this is pretty much how we did the rest of it. All right, and then when I get it to where I like it, then I just grab my wet rag right here, and the wet rag kind of grabs what's left of the primer that got wet sanded off. And then we come over it with a dry rag, then dry the water off like that. And we'll go over it one more time again with a nice wet rag in order to make sure that we get any residue off. And I've already cleaned my hands with alcohol and water and all that, so there shouldn't be any oil on my hands. See, there's a little spot I missed right there, so I'm gonna have to address that. I can feel it with my fingers. This is all nice and smooth, and there's like a little rough spot right here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get the sandpaper out of your way. So I can feel this right here, and I'm coming down here, and there's like a rough spot right there that we missed. So I'm going to grab that wet dry sandpaper and the water, and I'm going to like buff this little area right here and put a little bit of water above it so it drains down into it while I'm working on it. And this time I'm actually going to use my fingernails, but they're going to be on an angle like this. Multiple ones. I'm sorry, they're going to be on an angle like, I guess you could say like this, so they meet the curve. And the white streak you see underneath, that's the previous white primer. And I kind of wanted, I would prefer to stick with the white primer because it's easier to cover with a top coat than it is a darker primer. But I also like the whiter primer because you can tell when you're breaking through and the primer on top is getting close. You can start to see that, and that's important too because you want to know where you're at, where your primer thickness is and stuff. So let's fill this now. Now this is nice and smooth, so I got that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the bottom of this, and then we're going to do a wipe down, and I guess we'll start laying down some what they call ground coat, which is more of a base coat in the pearl coat, but they call it a ground coat, so we'll call it a ground coat. So let's go ahead and pause this, and let me get the rest of this done. Got this wet sanded. I'm going to try to get it dried off here, or get all the residue wiped off. There we go. Get up under here. We didn't really wet sand up underneath here, but if there's any water up under this lip, I don't want it getting in the paint job. So here we go. All right. Here, you can turn that t-shirt inside out, please. I don't want that pattern scratching the paint. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Now let's get this all dried off. Get all the leftover residue off of here. All right, can you go get me the laser temperature gun? He's gonna go get the laser temperature gun. We're gonna check out the how warm the metal is. So we're gonna get all this wiped down. And we found some more errors, but yeah, screw it. We're just gonna do it. We're so tired of playing with it. And it might show a little bit, but it's not gonna be really enough to worry about. I mean, this is not like a super primo GTO restoration or muscle car or something. It's just something for my son to have a daily driver and look fairly decent. But this is the first time I've ever tried to aerosol spray paint a car. And usually, like I said, normally I use a gun, but we decided to try it this time. Air compressor was down. I didn't really have the money to fix it, and I've always wanted to try it anyway, so that's where we're at. All right, he's got the temperature thing.
This one's like 106. This one's 120 something.
All right, so we are at 106 degrees, and up here we're at 125. So I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit to let this metal cool down a little bit. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to turn the car on. Maybe we'll turn it back around and paint in the shade. Let's see what the temperature is on this side. All right, so that's 96 degrees. That's a little more doable than 125. And what are we down here? 95. Yeah, I think we'll probably go ahead and turn the car around after the water dries. And then we'll go ahead and spray paint. We took the deck lid off the back here because we wanted to go ahead and paint up in here. And we're not really too concerned about this. I mean, it's kind of nasty and stuff, but really the tail light assembly covers all that up, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is the main area we were worried about. So, now let me back up, give you a better wide shot view of this. There we go. So we're almost there, getting close. So let's get a little further along and then we'll show it to you.